Joining us now is Emma Brown, Executive Director of Giffords, an organization focused on preventing gun violence. Emma, thank you for being here. What does this horrific assassination, the latest in a line of political violence just this year, tell us about where we are?
Well, thanks for having me. I would say, first of all, what the nation went through yesterday and saw yesterday was incredibly disturbing. No matter who you are or what you believe or how you felt about Charlie Kirk, he had the right to express his ideas in a public venue. That is the lifeblood of our democracy. Now, we didn't agree with many of his ideas, but he had a right to have them. So to see him gunned down like that was very disturbing. And, folks were just talking about this, but it is the latest in a long line of political assassinations or assassination attempts that our country has seen. And I think we really understand that there are two core factors driving that violence. There is the division and the hate in our country right now. We are at a moment of tremendous polarization, and it is incumbent upon our leaders to pull us back from that. And the second piece is that folks who wanted to hurt or kill Melissa Hortman and Donald Trump and Gabby Giffords and Charlie Kirk all had access to dangerous firearms, and they were able to use them at moments where they had deadly intent. So it's critical that our leaders be thinking about how we keep them safe and keep Americans safe from that threat.
To punctuate what you just said, according to a political violence database at the University of Maryland, there were 150 politically motivated attacks in the U.S. the first 6 months of this year, twice as many as over the same period last year. I mean, I think about Charlie Kirk, whatever you think about his politics, he talked a lot about letting both sides be heard. I covered Gabby Giffords' shooting. I remember sitting across the street from that parking lot at I think it was a Safeway supermarket. It was a supermarket where she was meeting with constituents when she was shot. And I wonder, when you say we need to pull back from that and our leaders need to help us pull back from that, what can be done?
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, because there are things that can be done, right? This is not an intractable problem. We know what the solutions are. We first need to have our leaders taking down the rhetoric, taking down the temperature. And then secondly, it is always going to be the case that there are dangerous people with deadly intent, right? That has been the case since our nation's founding. What is different about this moment is their ability to access high-powered weapons and use them indiscriminately. So, Utah, I think it has to be pointed out that Utah has some of the weakest gun laws in the country. There's still a lot to understand about this particular shooting and how this person got their weapon. But what we do know is that somebody who was very dangerous, who wanted to hurt Charlie Kirk, was able to do it. So things like universal background checks, things like red flag laws, strengthening support for law enforcement. There is a lot that can be done to prevent this type of violence, as well as addressing some of the foundational problems that we have around rhetoric and polarization and partisanship.
There's a lot of tentacles of danger and pain that come with something like this. And it isn't just political figures, right? It's judges, it's election workers who've seen and had to face political violence. Do we even have a handle on the net effect of this on public life, on willingness to serve?
Well, I think that it's important, to your point, to recognize that Charlie Kirk, of course, was shot and killed yesterday. Our hearts break for his family and his friends and his community. And it is also true that there were thousands of people in that space who saw it happen, whose lives will never be the same again, right? They will have always experienced this extremely traumatic moment. And also, millions of Americans watched that moment play out on the screens of their smartphones and their televisions. And it's very frightening. And it might, make people think twice about going to a political rally. It might make people think twice choice about running for the state legislature or city council. And that is really problematic for the future of our democracy, right? We understand that our country is stronger when more people are participating. Disagreements, are just part of that. But violence can never be what happens when we disagree with one another. And so I think when we're thinking about this problem, we understand that we have a mental health crisis in this country. I do believe that the rising rate of political violence has a role to play in that mental health crisis, right? It strips away at the feelings of safety and security and the fabric that holds this country together. So again, this is a moment where our leaders, Republicans and Democrats alike, need to both be thinking about their words and thinking about how they de-escalate the tension instead of escalate it, right? Instead of pushing people back into their camps and in their corners. And then secondly, we need to talk about how we're going to keep very dangerous weapons out of the hands of very dangerous people, because that is a through line between all of these shootings.
I think it's an appropriate moment to say that for many people, it is miraculous, not just that Gabby Gifford survived, but what she has done and how she has put herself out there to try to mitigate the possibility that this could happen to someone else. So thanks to her and thanks to you for being on the show. Appreciate it.